The wind howled across the desolate expanse of Kepler 442c, whipping through the craggy ruins that jutted out of the ground like jagged teeth. Dr. Maya Santos adjusted her visor, the faint murmur of the atmospheric processor humming in her ears as she surveyed the alien landscape before her. The orange dwarf star hung low on the horizon, casting long shadows across the archaeological site that had become both her salvation and her prison. 3 years had passed since the incident at Cambridge Stella University. 3 years since her groundbreaking paper on pre-contact civilizations had been dismissed as fabricated evidence by the academic board. The memory still stung, standing before her peers as they systematically dismantled her reputation, questioning every artifact, every translation, every conclusion she'd drawn from a lifetime of dedicated research. Dr. Santos. The voice of her research assistant, Tommy Chen, crackled through her earpiece. The morning survey's complete. We've got some interesting readings from Sector 7. Maya sighed, her breath fogging the inside of her visor. Define interesting, Tommy, because after what happened last week with those definitive proof mineral deposits that turned out to be crystallized sewage from the mining facility, I'm setting a pretty high bar. A nervous chuckle came through the comm. Well, these readings are different. The ground-penetrating radar is picking up geometric patterns about 15 meters down. Very geometric. Like mathematically precise geometric. Maya's pulse quickened despite herself. She'd learned not to get her hopes up too quickly. Hope was a luxury she could no longer afford. But geometric patterns meant intelligence, and intelligence meant the possibility of vindication. I'll be right there, she said, already turning toward the research facility. The base camp was a collection of prefabricated modules connected by enclosed walkways, all designed to withstand the harsh atmospheric conditions of Kepler 442c. The moon orbited a gas giant in the Goldilocks zone, but its elliptical orbit meant temperature swings that could flash freeze moisture in the morning and boil it away by afternoon. Not exactly prime real estate, but perfect for hiding archaeological treasures from casual observation. As Maya entered the main facility, she was greeted by the familiar sight of her small team hunched over various instruments and displays. Tommy looked up from his console, his young face bright with excitement. Take a look at this, he said, gesturing to the holographic display. The patterns are definitely artificial. Multiple chambers, connected by what looks like corridors. And Maya... He paused dramatically. It's big. Really big. We're talking about a structure that extends for at least 2 kilometers underground. Maya leaned in, studying the wireframe reconstruction. Her trained eye immediately picked out the architectural elements, the symmetrical design, the hierarchical arrangement of spaces, the clear intentionality behind every line and angle. How deep did you say? She asked. 15 meters to the top level, but the structure continues down. Our equipment can't penetrate beyond about 50 meters, but there are definitely multiple levels. Before Maya could respond, an alert chimed through the facility's communication system. A new voice, crisp and official, filled the air. Attention base camp. This is Captain Martinez from the diplomatic transport vessel Harmony. We are approaching for landing with special passenger manifest. Please prepare for arrival of Resonance Collective representative. Maya's blood ran cold. The Resonance Collective, the crystalline beings who claimed this entire system as their ancestral territory. Their arrival could only mean one thing. They detected the same anomalies. Dr. Santos, Captain Martinez continued, you are requested to serve as cultural liaison for the duration of the collective representative's visit. Tommy looked confused. Cultural liaison? But you're an archaeologist. Maya grimaced. Remember how I mentioned my career imploded? Well, the university might have blacklisted me from academic positions, but the colonial administration still values my xenoarchaeological experience, especially when it comes to the Resonance Collective. She'd had exactly one previous encounter with their species during a joint excavation on Europa 15 years ago. It had been challenging. The collective operated on principles of harmonic resonance and shared consciousness that made communication with individual-minded humans frustrating for both sides. 20 minutes later, Maya stood on the landing pad as the diplomatic transport touched down with a hiss of thrusters. The airlock cycled open, and Captain Martinez emerged first, a weathered woman in her 50s who looked like she'd rather be anywhere else in the galaxy. "Dr. Santos," Martinez said curtly, "I'll be frank. This assignment is above my pay grade. I'm dropping off your passenger and picking them up in 2 weeks. Try not to start an interstellar incident." Before Maya could respond, a figure emerged from the transport that made her breath catch in her throat. The being was tall, nearly 3 meters, and composed entirely of what appeared to be living crystal. Their form was roughly humanoid but angular, with faceted surfaces that caught and refracted the ambient light into prismatic rainbows. When they moved, it was with a fluid grace that seemed to defy their crystalline nature. "I am Scholar Vex Moonwhisper of the Resonance Collective," the being said, their voice carrying harmonics that seemed to vibrate through Maya's bones. "I have been sent to investigate the anomalous resonance patterns detected from this location." Maya stepped forward, drawing on years of diplomatic training she'd hoped never to use again. "Welcome to Kepler 442c, Scholar Moonwhisper. I'm Dr. Maya Santos, expedition leader and your designated cultural liaison." Vex's crystalline head tilted in what might have been curiosity. "You are the human whose theories about pre-contact civilizations were deemed controversial by your academic institutions." Heat rose in Maya's cheeks. Even aliens knew about her professional humiliation. "That's one way to put it." "Intriguing," Vex said, their harmonics shifting to what Maya thought might be amusement. "Among my people, controversial theories are often the most valuable. I too have been reassigned due to ideological differences with the orthodox interpretation of our historical records." Maya blinked in surprise. An exiled alien scholar. This assignment was getting more complicated by the minute. The next morning, Maya found herself in the awkward position of giving a guided tour to a being who could probably level the entire facility with their natural resonance abilities. Vex moved through the base camp with measured steps, their crystalline form analyzing everything with what appeared to be built-in sensors. "Your equipment is quite primitive," Vex observed as they examined Tommy's ground-penetrating radar array, "but effective within its limitations." Tommy bristled at the slight. "Primitive? This is cutting-edge, human technology." "I meant no offense," Vex replied, their harmonics shifting to a more conciliatory tone. "Your species has achieved remarkable things with silicate-based computation. However, the collective utilizes living crystal matrices that interface directly with quantum resonance fields." Maya intervened before Tommy could escalate the tech comparison into a full argument. "Scholar Moonwhisper, perhaps you'd like to see what we've discovered so far." She led Vex to the main display, where the wireframe reconstruction of the underground structure rotated slowly. The collective representatives studied it in silence for several long moments, their crystal form pulsing with inner light. "Fascinating," Vex finally said. "The architectural principles are consistent with neither human nor collective design philosophies. This appears to be genuinely alien construction." "That's what we thought," Maya agreed. "The mathematical ratios don't match any known civilizations in the Galactic database. But, Scholar Moonwhisper," she hesitated, then decided to take the plunge. "There are elements here that seem familiar. Design motifs that appear in both human and collective archaeological sites." X's form brightened noticeably. "You have noticed this as well." The spiral matrix patterns in chambers 7 and 12 bear striking resemblance to the harmonic temples of Resonance Prime. And the radial symmetry in the central complex matches patterns found in prehistoric human cave art, Maya added excitedly. "It's like whoever built this understood both our species' aesthetic preferences." For the first time since Vex's arrival, Maya felt a spark of genuine scientific excitement. Despite their vastly different biologies and cultural backgrounds, both she and the collective scholar were responding to the same archaeological puzzle. Dr. Santos, Vex said formally, I propose we combine our efforts. Your excavation techniques and my resonance analysis capabilities could prove mutually beneficial. Maya paused, considering. Collaborating with an alien scholar would be unprecedented and potentially career-ending if it went wrong. But then again, her career was already in ruins. What did she have to lose? I accept your proposal, she said, but I have one condition. We share all findings equally, and neither of our peoples gets exclusive access to whatever we discover down there. Vex's crystalline form pulsed with what Maya was learning to recognize as approval. Acceptable. Knowledge should not be hoarded by any single species. Tommy looked between them with undisguised excitement. So we're really doing this human-alien archaeological partnership? Apparently so, Maya said, extending her hand toward Vex. Partners? Vex studied her outstretched hand for a moment, then carefully extended one of their own crystalline appendages. When they touched, Maya felt a slight vibration. Not unpleasant, like touching a tuning fork. Partners. Vex agreed. The excavation began 3 days later. Maya's team had spent the intervening time establishing protocols for working with collective technology, while Vex had used their natural resonance abilities to map the underground structure in far greater detail than human instruments could achieve. The main entrance appears to be here, Vex indicated, pointing to a section of seemingly ordinary rock face, approximately 2.7 meters below the surface. The construction material is a metallic compound unknown to both our databases. Maya suited up in her excavation gear, checking and double-checking the environmental seals. Tommy, you're monitoring from up here. If anything goes wrong down there, I want immediate evacuation protocols. Got it, boss. Tommy replied, though his voice carried more excitement than concern. You're making history here. The descent into the buried structure felt like entering another world. Maya's headlamp illuminated walls covered in intricate carvings that seemed to shift and flow in the dancing light. Beside her, Vex's crystalline form provided its own illumination, casting prismatic patterns across the ancient stonework. These symbols, Maya breathed, running her gloved fingers over the carved surfaces. They're not like anything in the Archaeological database. But there's something familiar about them. Vex moved closer, their internal light intensifying. The mathematical relationships between the symbols follow patterns consistent with both human Fibonacci sequences and collective harmonic ratios. It is as if the builders understood both our species' approaches to cosmic order. They progressed deeper into the complex, documenting everything with obsessive care. The structure was clearly ancient. Carbon dating of organic residues suggested an age of at least 50,000 years, predating both human civilization and the collective's recorded history. In the third chamber, they made their first major discovery. Maya, Vex said, their harmonics carrying an undercurrent of awe. You must see this. At the center of the chamber stood a crystalline structure that bore an uncanny resemblance to Vex's own physiology. But it was clearly artificial. About 2 meters tall and roughly pyramidal, it pulsed with a faint internal light that seemed to respond to their presence. It's beautiful, Maya whispered. But what is it? Vex approached cautiously, their form resonating in harmony with the artifact. It appears to be some form of communication device. The resonance patterns are complex, multi-layered. Can you activate it? Perhaps, but Dr. Santos, if this device is what I believe it to be, activation could have significant consequences. We should document its current state thoroughly before attempting any interaction. Maya nodded, though part of her wanted to throw caution to the wind. This could be the discovery that vindicated her entire career, proof that ancient civilizations had achieved interstellar contact long before humanity or the collective had developed space travel. They spent the next 4 hours taking detailed measurements, photographs, and scans, The artifact's composition defied easy analysis. It contained elements found in both human and collective technology, but combined in ways that neither species had achieved. As they worked, Maya found herself stealing glances at her alien partner. Vex moved with a precision and grace that spoke of deep scientific training, but there was something else, a passion for discovery that transcended species boundaries. "Scholar Moonwhisper," Maya said during a break, "can I ask why you were exiled from the collective?" Vex's form dimmed slightly. "I question the orthodox interpretation of our origin myths. The collective teaches that we are the first and only crystalline intelligence in the galaxy. I suggested that our legends of the first singers might refer to actual historical contact with another species. And that was heretical? Profoundly so. The collective's identity is built upon the concept of unique specialness. To suggest that we might share common heritage with other species, Vex's harmonics carried what Maya recognized as pain. It was considered a fundamental betrayal of our cultural identity. Maya felt a sudden kinship with this alien scholar. "I know something about being punished for inconvenient truths." "Your theory about pre-contact civilizations," Vex said. "What evidence did you present?" Maya hesitated, then decided there was no point in hiding her past. "Artifact fragments found on 17 different worlds, all showing similar technological and artistic elements. The problem was, I couldn't prove they weren't contamination from more recent settlements. The dating was ambiguous, and my academic rivals used that ambiguity to destroy my credibility. But you believe the evidence was genuine." "I knew it was genuine," Maya said firmly. "Sometimes you just know. The patterns were too consistent, too sophisticated to be coincidental." Vex's form brightened. "And now we stand in a structure that may prove your theory correct." Maya looked around at the ancient chamber, feeling a mixture of vindication and trepidation. "If we can prove this place predates both our civilizations, and that it shows influence from both our species, it would revolutionize our understanding of galactic history," Vex finished, "and perhaps force both our peoples to reconsider their assumptions about their place in the universe." The breakthrough came on their 7th day in the ruins. Maya was documenting a series of wall carvings in the deepest chamber they'd yet accessed, when her portable scanner detected something unexpected. Organic compounds preserved within the carved symbols themselves. "Vex, look at this," she called, her voice tight with excitement. "These aren't just decorative carvings. They're some kind of storage medium." The scholar moved to her side, their crystalline form pulsing with interest. "Storage medium. See these microscopic structures within the carved lines. They're showing signs of organized molecular chains, almost like a primitive form of data storage." Vix's harmonics shifted to frequencies Maya had learned indicated deep concentration. "If you are correct, these walls may contain actual records from the builders of this place. But how do we access them? The technology to read molecular data storage like this is beyond what we brought with us." Vex was quiet for a long moment, their internal light cycling through different patterns. "Perhaps not. My physiology allows me to interface directly with crystalline matrices. If these storage structures share any commonality with collective technology, you think you could read them directly?" "It is possible, but dangerous. Interfacing with unknown systems could damage my consciousness, or worse, allow hostile programming to affect my neural matrices." Maya studied her partner's crystalline features, seeing for the first time the weight of what they were considering. "Is it worth the risk?" "Dr. Santos." "Maya," Vix said, using her given name for the first time. "If these records contain what we believe they might, the knowledge could prevent conflicts between our species. It could show both humans and the collective that we are not alone in the universe, that intelligence and consciousness take many forms." Maya nodded slowly. "What do you need me to do?" The preparation took 2 hours. Vex positioned themselves next to the wall carvings, extending crystalline tendrils that began to resonate in harmony with the stored molecular structures. Maya monitored their vital signs on the portable medical scanner, ready to intervene if the interface process went wrong. Beginning interface, Vex announced, their voice taking on harmonic overtones Maya had never heard before. For several minutes, nothing seemed to happen. Then Vex's entire form began to glow, with increasing intensity, patterns of light racing across their crystalline surface like neural impulses. Their body swayed slightly, as if responding to music only they could hear. Suddenly, Vex's voice changed, taking on qualities that seemed impossibly ancient. "We are the Bridgebuilders, the ones who came before. We have walked among the stars when your kinds were but dreams in the cosmic mind." Maya's heart raced. "Vex, are you all right? We have watched the birth of crystal consciousness and carbon thought. We have seen the first songs of harmony and the first tools of creation. You are our children, separated by time and space, but bound by the inheritance of curiosity and wonder." The voice continued, speaking through Vex but clearly not originating from the collective scholar. "The galaxy teems with mind and spirit, each species a unique note in the cosmic symphony. But you have forgotten your connections, your shared heritage. You war over resources and territory when you should celebrate the magnificent diversity of consciousness." "What happened to you?" Maya whispered. "Where did you go? We transcended physical form eons ago. But our legacy remains in the structures we built, the knowledge we preserved, the genetic and mimetic influences we left in developing civilizations. You carry our gift, the drive to explore, to discover, to reach always toward greater understanding." Vex's form began to dim, and their own voice returned, weak and strained. "The interface, too much data. I cannot maintain the connection." Maya moved quickly to support the collective scholar as they swayed dangerously. "That's enough. You've done more than enough." As Vex's vital signs stabilized, Maya helped them to a sitting position against the chamber wall. The crystalline being's form flickered with residual energy patterns. Did you hear what they said?" Vex asked weakly. "Every word," Maya replied, her mind racing with the implications. "Vex, do you understand what this means? We have proof of a precursor civilization, a species that influenced both human and collective development. This changes everything." Vex's harmonics carried exhaustion but also triumph. "My people's myths speak of the first singers, beings of pure harmony, who taught the earliest collective members to resonate with the universe itself. Your species' legends contain references to ancient teachers who gave humanity the gift of curiosity and the tools of discovery." "Not legends," Maya said softly. "Memories. Genetic memories passed down through countless generations. They sat in the ancient chamber, two beings from vastly different species, united by the magnitude of their discovery. The silence stretched between them, filled with the weight of cosmic revelation." "Maya," Vex said finally, "we must share this knowledge. Both our peoples need to understand that they are part of something larger than their individual species." "The question is," Maya replied, "will they listen?" The return to the surface world brought harsh reality crashing back. Maya's communication with the colonial administration met with skepticism that bordered on hostility. "Dr. Santos," came the voice of Director Harrison through the quantum communicator, "you're asking us to believe that you've discovered evidence of a precursor civilization based on the hallucinations of an alien?" "They weren't hallucinations," Maya insisted, trying to keep her voice level. "We have corroborating archaeological evidence, molecular storage records, and architectural analysis that supports." "What we have," Harrison interrupted, "is a disgraced academic making extraordinary claims without extraordinary evidence. Dr. Santos, need I remind you that your previous theories about pre-contact civilizations were thoroughly debunked?" Maya felt her temper rising. "Those theories were suppressed by academic politics, not scientific evidence. The colonial administration will not risk diplomatic relations with the Resonance Collective based on unsubstantiated claims. You will continue your survey of the ruins, document any artifacts of genuine archaeological value, and prepare for extraction when your mission timeline concludes. The connection ended, leaving Maya staring at the blank communicator screen. Beside her, Vex had been monitoring the exchange through their translation protocols. Your superiors are unconvinced, Vex observed. That's one way to put it, Maya said bitterly. What about your people? Are they any more open-minded? Vex's form dimmed. I attempted to transmit our findings to the Collective Council. They have declared my reports to be the result of harmonic contamination from prolonged exposure to carbon-based thought patterns. Maya laughed, but there was no humor in it. So we make the greatest archaeological discovery in galactic history, and both our peoples think we're crazy. Perhaps, Vex said thoughtfully. The problem is not our people's resistance to new ideas, but rather our approach to sharing them. What do you mean? We have been attempting to convince institutions that have vested interests in maintaining existing paradigms, but institutions are not the only audience for truth. Maya looked at her alien partner with growing interest. You're talking about going public. I am suggesting that truth has a way of reaching receptive minds, regardless of institutional approval. Your species has networks of communication that bypass official channels, do they not? Maya's mind began racing. The academic underground. Independent researchers, citizen scientists, philosophers and truth-seekers who aren't beholden to official institutions. And among my people there are harmony singers who preserve alternative interpretations of our myths and legends. Scholars like myself who have long suspected that orthodox history is incomplete. A grassroots revelation, Maya mused. But we'd need more than just our testimony. We'd need irrefutable proof. Vex's crystalline form brightened. Then perhaps it is time to activate the communication device we discovered. 3 days later, Maya and Vex stood once again before the crystalline artifact in the deepest chamber of the ruins. This time, they were not alone. Tommy Chan operated recording equipment, while 2 other members of Maya's team monitored environmental conditions. On the collective side, Vex had quietly contacted 3 exiled scholars who had made the journey to Kepler 442c in secret. Everyone ready? Maya asked, looking around at the assembled group. The weight of the moment pressed down on her. They were about to either make history or destroy their careers completely. Vex moved toward the artifact, their form beginning to resonate in harmony with its crystalline structure. The activation process will require precise harmonic modulation. If the device is truly a communication system, it may attempt to establish contact with other nodes across the galaxy. Other nodes? Tommy asked nervously. You mean there might be more of these things out there? The Bridgebuilders spoke of multiple sites, Maya replied. If this device can connect to them, we might be able to access their entire network of preserved knowledge. Vex placed their crystalline appendages against the artifact's surface, and immediately the chamber filled with harmonic resonance that seemed to vibrate through everyone's bones. The artifact's internal light intensified, and patterns of energy began racing across its faceted surfaces. Contact established, Vex announced, their voice carrying harmonic overtones. The network is vast. Hundreds of nodes across the galaxy, many on worlds we have never heard of. The air in the chamber began to shimmer, and suddenly Maya could see them. Ghostly figures made of light and energy, representatives of dozens of different species, all connected through the Bridgebuilder network. Welcome, children of carbon and crystal, spoke a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. We have been waiting for this moment for 50,000 years. Maya found her voice. Who are you? We are the inheritors of the Bridgebuilders' legacy. Species that have discovered nodes like this one and chosen to join the network rather than remain isolated. We represent civilizations from across the galaxy. Silicon-based, energy-based, quantum coherent, and forms of consciousness your species have not yet imagined. Another voice, joined the first. Your kinds stand at a crossroads. You can continue to view yourselves as separate, competing entities, or you can join the greater community of consciousness that spans the stars. Vex's harmonics carried awe and wonder. How many species are part of this network? Currently, 237 civilizations actively participate in the Bridgebuilder legacy. Each brought their own unique perspectives, technologies, and wisdom to the collective knowledge. Maya stepped forward. What would joining mean for humanity and the collective? Nothing would be required to change about your individual species, cultures, or governments, the first voice replied. The network exists to share knowledge, facilitate communication between distant civilizations, and provide assistance during times of crisis. Participation is voluntary and can be discontinued at any time, but, added another voice, the benefits are substantial. Access to technologies that could solve resource conflicts, medical knowledge that could eliminate diseases, artistic and philosophical traditions that could enrich your cultures immeasurably. Tommy was frantically recording everything, his equipment barely able to process the exotic energy patterns filling the chamber. The other team members stood in stunned silence, witnessing something that would reshape their understanding of the universe. There is one requirement, the network voices continued. To join the legacy, a species must acknowledge that consciousness and intelligence take many forms, and commit to peaceful interaction with other member civilizations. Wars between legacy species are not permitted. Maya and Vex exchanged glances. This was exactly what both their peoples needed to hear, proof that cooperation was not only possible, but beneficial on a galactic scale. How do we convince our leaders? Maya asked. You do not, came the reply. Leaders often resist change that threatens their power structures. Instead, you share the truth with those ready to hear it. Truth has a way of spreading from mind to mind, heart to heart, until it becomes undeniable. The connection began to fade, the ghostly figures becoming translucent. The network will remain open to you, the voices said. When your peoples are ready to join the greater community, we will be here. The chamber fell silent, except for the soft hum of recording equipment. Maya looked around at the assembled group, seeing her own awe reflected in their faces. Well, she said finally, I think we have our proof. 6 months later, Maya stood before a packed auditorium at the Independent Researchers Conference on New Geneva. The audience included scientists, philosophers, journalists, and truth seekers from across human space, people who operated outside the official academic establishment. What I'm about to share with you, Maya began, will challenge everything you think you know about humanity's place in the universe. She activated the holographic projector, filling the air above the audience with images from the Kepler-42 BC ruins. Gasps echoed through the auditorium as the ancient chambers materialized in stunning detail. These structures predate both human civilization and the Resonance Collective by 50,000 years, Maya continued. But, more importantly, they contain evidence that our species are part of a galactic community of consciousness that spans hundreds of civilizations. The presentation continued for 2 hours, with Maya sharing recordings of the Bridgebuilder communications, analysis of the molecular storage systems, and testimony from the collective scholars who had witnessed the revelations firsthand. When she finished, the auditorium erupted in questions, debates, and discussions that would continue for days. But Maya could see it in the audience's eyes, the spark of recognition, the hunger for truth that no institutional resistance could suppress. Similar presentations were occurring across collective space, where Vex and their allies shared harmonically encoded records of their discoveries with underground networks of alternative historians and myth-keepers. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Independent research groups began organizing expeditions to search for other Bridgebuilder sites. Citizen scientists started analyzing the released data, finding connections and patterns that official institutions had missed or ignored. Within a year, 17 additional Bridgebuilder nodes had been discovered across human and collective territory, Each activation brought new species into contact with the galactic network, creating a growing momentum that even the most resistant officials couldn't ignore. Maya found herself at the center of a movement that transcended species boundaries. The legacy movement, as it came to be known, attracted individuals from dozens of worlds who believed in the possibility of interspecies cooperation and shared knowledge. Dr. Santos, came a familiar voice from behind her as she reviewed correspondence from the latest group of volunteers. Maya turned to see Director Harrison, the same colonial administration official who had dismissed her findings months earlier. His expression carried a mixture of resignation and grudging respect. "Director," Maya replied coolly, "to what do I owe the pleasure?" "Council has reconsidered its position on your archaeological findings," Harrison said carefully. "Recent developments have made it clear that the phenomena you documented cannot be ignored or suppressed." Maya raised an eyebrow. "Recent developments?" "3 more worlds in our territory have reported Bridgebuilders site activations. Independent research groups are making contact with alien species we've never encountered. The galactic political landscape is changing whether we officially acknowledge it or not. And you want to get ahead of the curve?" Harrison nodded. "The colonial administration is prepared to offer you full reinstatement, including research funding for continued Bridgebuilder investigations. In exchange, we'd like your cooperation in managing the transition to whatever comes next." Maya considered the offer. Official recognition would provide resources and legitimacy that could accelerate the legacy movement's growth. But it would also mean working within the same institutional framework that had tried to suppress the truth. "I'll need to discuss this with my partners," Maya said finally. "All of them." The meeting took place on Kepler 442c, in the same chamber where Maya and Vex had first made contact with the Bridgebuilder network. Representatives from the colonial administration, the Resonance Collective Council, and dozens of independent research groups gathered to discuss humanity's and the collective's potential membership in the galactic legacy. Maya stood beside Vex at the center of the chamber, both of them serving as intermediaries between their peoples and the larger cosmic community. The crystalline communication device hummed softly, maintaining an open connection to the network of species that had already joined the legacy. "The question before us," Maya addressed the assembly, "is not whether we should join the galactic community. That process has already begun through the actions of individuals who chose truth over institutional comfort. The question is whether our official governments will embrace this reality or be dragged along by the momentum of change." Director Harrison stood to address the group. "The colonial administration recognizes that isolation is no longer viable. However, we have concerns about maintaining human autonomy within such a vast network." A harmonic voice from the collective delegation echoed similar worries. "The Resonance Collective values our unique cultural identity. We fear that joining a galactic community might dilute our essential nature." One of the network voices responded through the communication device. "Your concerns are understandable and shared by most species who consider joining the legacy. However, diversity is the network's greatest strength. No member civilization has ever been asked to abandon their cultural identity or governmental autonomy." Vex stepped forward, their crystalline form pulsing with gentle light. "I have interfaced with the network extensively over the past months. What I have discovered is not a homogenizing force, but rather a celebration of the infinite varieties of consciousness. Each species contributes their unique perspectives while learning from others." "But what about security concerns?" asked a military representative. "How do we know that hostile species won't use the network to attack member civilizations?" Maya activated a holographic display showing data from the network's historical records. "In 50,000 years of network operation, there has never been a war between legacy member species. Conflicts are resolved through mediation and resource sharing, long before they escalate to violence. Moreover," added one of the network voices, "species that demonstrate consistent aggressive behavior toward other civilizations are not invited to join the legacy. The network's survival depends on peaceful cooperation." The discussions continued for 3 days. with representatives working through practical concerns about trade, communication protocols, resource sharing, and cultural exchange. Gradually, a framework emerged that would allow both humanity and the collective to begin provisional membership in the Galactic legacy. On the final day, Maya found herself alone with Vex, in the chamber where their partnership had begun. The crystalline being's form reflected the soft light of the communication device, creating patterns that danced across the ancient walls. "Do you think we've done the right thing?" Maya asked. Vex's harmonics carried contentment and hope. "I believe we have opened a door that was always meant to be opened. Whether our peoples choose to walk through it remains to be seen." Maya nodded, looking around at the chamber that had become the birthplace of a new era in galactic civilization. "You know, when I came here, I thought I was just trying to salvage my career. I never imagined that you would help bridge the gap between species and reshape the galaxy's understanding of consciousness itself." Vex finished with what Maya had learned to recognize as gentle humor. "Something like that. Perhaps," Vex said thoughtfully. "That is how the most important discoveries always happen. Not through grand plans or institutional mandates, but through individuals following truth wherever it leads them." Maya smiled, feeling a sense of completion that had eluded her for years. Her academic career had been destroyed, but in its place, she had found something far more valuable. Proof that the universe was filled with wonders beyond imagination, and that the bridge between species was built not through politics or power, but through shared curiosity and the courage to seek truth. 1 year later, Maya stood on the observation deck of the research station that had been constructed around the Kepler-4 2bc ruins. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see shuttles arriving from dozens of worlds, carrying researchers, diplomats, artists, and philosophers eager to experience the Bridgebuilder site firsthand. The ruins had become a pilgrimage destination for beings seeking to understand their place in the greater galactic community. The chamber containing the communication device hosted constant traffic as species after species made first contact with the legacy network. "Dr. Santos," came a voice behind her.